talking cover four out of inside backers out of an odd front.
Gotcha. So our run fits were bare. We were odd front, so we were 303 up front, and then our ram and lion call was just us stemming to an over front based off a certain formation. As far as pass fits go, top three to final three, so meaning we were counting our eligibles outside in, and so whatever inside backer was to number three was going to be always be our dropper, and whoever was away was always going to be our adder, right? And then obviously us being a heavy cover four team, we got a lot of pipe routes, right? We got a lot of routes from the backs up the middle that we had always had to worry about. And then our main help with what we were focusing on were if it was like a deep concept and things like that, we wanted to help our DBs out in the middle with like digs and things like that. And so when we look at, this page was really just formation based because that's how we taught them, right? Two by two, we're dropping off at three. Tray open was our ram and line adjustment. So tight end hand down. Trey Yo was our, just tight end off the ball. But so instead of moving the front over, we cheated our backers. And so there's a different way to handle that C gap responsibility in a 3x1. And then our support calls that were going with it. So they knew their responsibilities within our scheme. So when we look at these pictures, um, base words, so two by two, our DBs communicated Zorro Bronco. So Zorro is the classic two read. So if two was going to run a speed out and one was going to run vertical, we knew that our corner was going to jump the out and our safety was going to come take the vertical of one. Um, and then our line outside backers were two to final two, and again our inside backers were three to final three. So with the outside backers, we get the speed out and we got like a dig. Corner's still going to take one, or the speed out, excuse me, and then our safety should be over top, and then our outside backer should be underneath. So he was counting one to two, two pre-snap became one post-snap, one one pre-snap became two post-snap, and that's where his drop was. So as people know,
Coach,
like
walk
the
me through a
quarters
little
game
bit of
is,
two to final two and three to final three, so I make sure I understand that.
yeah. So we did it that way. So the two to final two, three to final three. So it was they're dropping off at two their number pre-snap and finding that new possible number post-snap. So with the outside backer being two to final two, us counting eligibles, right? The X is one, the H is two here. So pre-snap, it's one, two. Ball is snapped. Let's say the H runs a speed out and the X runs a dig here. So now post-snap, the H becomes new number one, and the X that was number one now becomes a new number two. So we're finding our new numbers based off of the concepts they're giving. So theoretically, if H just came and ran a 5 yard hitch, that's still our final two. So two just stayed two. Um, and we pushed that same thing with the inside backers. So they're three to final three. So if we got the normal stick concept, right, you got a stick by two, a vert by one, and we get the back out in the flat. So now, again, one stays one. Outside backers carrying the box. There's two to final two. So he's going to work out for the tailback, which then pushes our mic now to the new three. So again, one, two, three pre snap, one, two, three post snap. So now I know I'm going to match that new number three. So we taught him, hey, you're looking at number three pre snap, and that number three pre snap might be someone completely different post snap. But it's all football, it's all relative, right? Something goes out, something's coming in, those kind of things. And so we taught that
Absolutely.
both sides, and then obviously with our DBs, different two by two is we called it a Bronco, and so Bronco meant we're not looking at number two, we're locking it. And so in a Zorro, the corner's really responsible for a speed out, anything quick. In a Bronco, the outside backer's responsible for it. So again, you get the same concept: vert by one, speed out by two. The outside backer is going to carry that, which now frees up our safety. Um, and so we always broncoed, like in this picture, it's a tight end attached. We always broncoed tight ends because our safeties were involved in our run fit. So tight end outs the nine here, C gap opens, and we get run action at us. Like we're gonna get that safety filling that C gap. Um, and so that was for any two by two adjustments, and then three by one, we had our normal like solo alignment where we're still gonna read number two with our field guys, and now our backside safety, our boundary safety is gonna be looking at number three. So again, three to final three. I know in this picture in box D that my mic is gonna be dropping because he's two number three. But he has three short, And then if three went vertical or, working back across, then I know my safety's going to take that vertical. And so we knew based off support calls how we were going to play certain things. So we knew how we can be really aggressive short. And it was the same thing. So if three goes out, I know my mic's going to push and we're going to find our new number three working back in one way or another, right? It could be number two, it could be number one. They just had a kind of. So that was with three attached. And then we get three displaced, and now we're playing the normal, we called it spur. Um, can you hear me still?
I got you.
Oh, okay, good. Um,
I got you.
and so then our three displaced rule was we went spur. Perfect. Special rules where we're locking one, and now we bumped over our safeties, and they in and outed three and two. So they're looking at number three, so it's the same premise. Three goes out, two's vertical. Down safety is going to take the out, high safety is going to take the vert. And so we just kept all these rules the same. And so even with trips open, like this bottom box here, it got really tough. Like we put ourselves in binds, but we wanted to make sure that we weren't vacating our box or our run fit. So we would bring both safeties over. We would run three displace, and we left our corner backside. We were very fortunate at SEMO to have like one of our corners is still playing in the NFL. So we had some really good boundary corners that we said, hey, you're by yourself. We're going to leave you alone. Go do your thing. And it allowed us to keep a loaded box for the run, right? Because when people think like 3-4 defense, the number one formation that stresses it the most is 3-by-1. And it's really three displaced, like true, like trips open stuff. That's what really stresses 3-4s because they have to move people around. Either they're bumping inside backers out, they're apexing over, or they're bringing DBs over, however they need to do it. But people are going to be moving to adjust properly. Otherwise, you're going to be out leveraged. So that was the way that we handled it. We took it from Wisconsin, the special stuff, and so we just kind of ran with it and made it easy and say, hey, we have 2-by-2 rules, we have 3-by-1 attached rules, we have 3-by-1 displaced rules, and that's how we're going to operate. The biggest thing
Let's let
that
me
we
ask you, were you
did that
guys
was way different than
spilling
anyone else, though,
everything
was
because
this.
you were?
No, we were actually boxing. We were forcing everything. Um, because we were picking up our safeties in the fit. No, we forced everything based off the front that we had. We knew we could always get the ball back in because we played a 3-0-3, so it's forcing. We forced down blocks. We forced the back block by the center, which forced the down block by the guard, which forced the single block by the tackle, knowing that they got to handle this one way, right? So typically teams would out the nine, and then they're going to wrap for the will. But if my mic was unblockable, so now if we're going to force it back inside to our free player. So we forced everything just to keep everything simple.
Gotcha.
We used to kind of have spill rules and box rules based off support calls, and it got hairy. You play in stadiums where a linebacker might not hear a call from his safety that he's in the fit, so he's fitting that puller differently than he should because he didn't hear it. And so we just said, hey, we're going to force everything inside so everyone knows exactly where the ball's going to fit every single time. And it made it really easy. There were some challenges to it, obviously, like you're forcing a downhill ball, but the pro was that everyone knew every single pulling play that we got, that we knew exactly how it was going to hit and where it was going to hit, so we could be really fast there. Um,
Did you guys find
so we look
anything
at
that people did to try to get your mic blocked in gap scheme stuff? Was there anything that gave you trouble in that regard? Them attaching a fullback or pulling a
yeah, there was
Y or anything like that?
yeah, even with like the GY counter stuff and things like that, it wasn't really that big of a it wasn't that big of a threat because they still couldn't get backside because it was we were forcing the down blocks with with our defensive linemen with their techniques. And so I'm going to fast forward to this to our tight view here. But with the way we aligned, it forced all of these down blocks to where, or I'm sorry, the center's gonna have to go back, he's gonna have to go down, he's gonna have to go here, and now they're gonna single pull for this guy if they didn't do it. The one way people got away from it was they would base and then they would double here. They would run dart and they would double to the backside, single here, and they would pull the tackle. And that was the way they were able to block it. We came across, I remember, I think it was like 2017, we were playing Austin P, and they really tightened these splits way, way down. Um, and then they were singling. They kept the center on the nose, and then they were able to pull two guys. So now they were getting their kick out and their wrap, and that made it challenging because they were able to now climb to the backside, and instead of downing it, I'm sorry, they were like doubling to the backside because their splits were so tight that we couldn't squeeze through. So their tackles were able to cut off our three. Like when you look at this picture, there's a lot of space. Like the center going back for a three technique is far. So the center has to go back, and then the tackle's got to hinge it too. So we're not just chasing the guard on any sort of pull play. So our base run fits, I'll rewind this real quick. So the big guys were responsible for B gaps. Like these had B gaps. We taught our nose. There's a lot of 3-4 guys out there say, hey, on this play, you need to fit, field A or frontside A or fallback. So we didn't want to do that. We wanted our noses to be aggressive. So it was, I am vertical through the center, and whatever way I fall back in, whatever A gap I fall into, that's where you're going to stay. And the inside backers will make you right. And so we just taught the inside backers based off back alignment. So back away meant open A. So this guy was going to be an A gap fitter. And that back to me, he was stacking and tracking to C. I taught them we're reading guards. If there's no guards pulling, then we're tracking the back. So when you watch this picture, it's just an inside zone rep. But you can kind of see how it fits. And then, no one's pulling. But we got our guys in B gap. They're outing the backside to the boundary. So both of our inside backers are free. And that's why we get a nice, easy, it's like a gain of 1 or 2, which is exactly what we're looking for. This was the picture. I don't know if we'll get to it, but, talking about a major difference of high school and college. So in this picture, they're going to out the 9. These two are going to try to double to backside. Center's going to base the nose. Tackle's going to hinge the 3, and he's going to try to pull for here. That's all good, right? Now they have a chance to get to the backside backer and things like that. The biggest difference, I think, with high school and college is, the offensive guys in college, they did a really good job of trying to find out and figure out our rules. And so we got a lot of playing quarters. We got a lot of push cracks because we knew that they're going to push vertical and they're going to try to get here, which makes him think, hey, this is a route and I have to chase it until he starts blocking. Then we pick him up late. They're trying to get the corner to make the tackle versus a downhill safety. So it's things like that. I remember bringing up cracking one year, my first year coaching in Arizona, and they're like, well, I don't want to get a penalty. And I was like, well, we're not going to get a penalty. It's just we're just pushing to the safety because we know what they're in. They're in quarters. This guy has to follow the slant. He has to take it until he realizes it's not. So we're going to try to get these two guys blocked with one receiver. And we're not even blocking the corner. We know his rules, so we're going to take him on a ride with us. But so it's things like that. So you look at like this picture here. You can see the receivers working for the safety. And then you can see the fits kind of happen. So as we go, they're outing the 9, they're doubling here. We were really, really good up front. And then that left our backers free. So he's going to drive, hit that outside shoulder or his outside shoulder, which frees up our inside back because now he knows he can fit inside because that's where the ball's going to hit. Got a little bit better picture from the tight shot. So this game, like this alignment, based off what they did at tight end, we cheated our backers over. So now we're handling C kind of with 2 different guys. But again, you can see the blocking, and then now he takes it on with his inside shoulder hitting the outside shoulder of the puller, which now forces that ball right back inside to our free hitter.
Coach, you talked about it a little bit, but what do you think are some of the big differences you see from now being a high school defensive coordinator, being prepared for that? What do you see as some of the differences? Because I would say one of the top ones at the college level, you're seeing very similar offenses week to week. Whereas at the high school level, I think at the 6A level, you're probably seeing very similar offenses, but sometimes the 3A and 4A level, you'll see a wing T, a spread to run, spread to pass. You can even throw a flex bone in there. What are some differences that you've seen in now coaching at the high school level?
Yeah, I think that's some of the biggest ones. It's on a week to week basis. Like it all changes and predicates off of really who's on the team that year. right? Because obviously, when you think about college, you think that every university is going to recruit the kids that best fit their system. And they're not going to recruit kids that don't fit that system. So, for example, like us up front, we were 303. So, one of our main requirements is that our D linemen, as high school guys, their minimum weight that they could be for us to start recruiting them was 280, because we needed them to be 300, 305, 295 in that area, because they're going to be taking on a lot of double teams and things like that. So we needed them to be bigger. We're not going to go recruit a 6'4", 225 pound defensive end to play three technique, right? So I think that's one of the biggest differences. So you knew week to week what you were going to get, because that's what they're recruiting for. Where in high school, like, it's a good OC is going to do what his kids can do, and that could probably change on any given year. You get the big schools, like I was at Perry for 3 years, so we were fortunate enough to get good players that we can really keep our system going, and plug and play. And new guys would come in, and they were able to run what we wanted to run, so we're fortunate enough to do it. Where now I'm implementing our defense at ALA Ironwood, and I've already seen things that's like, there's things that maybe I really, really want to do, but we might not be able to physically accomplish that. And so the last thing I'm going to do is put my kids in a bind, just because I want to pound my fist on the table and say, this is who I am, this is what I want to do. And so I think there is a lot of really good offensive coordinators in Arizona. And I think they do a really good job of, year to year, especially in the smaller levels, because you don't know what you're going to get until you kind of get it. And so it's the variations on a year to year basis. And there's things that happen, and to where I might not have the same kids, and that offense is going to change completely, on that basis. And like I said, versus college, you're recruiting for what you want. And so if you don't, if a kid doesn't fit your system, he doesn't fit your system, and you're going to find another one that will. And that's the easiest thing. So I think that's where, for us, I think in our league, like our region and stuff, I don't know how much wing T we're going to see, which I'm not mad about, because I don't have to deal with defending that. But in the event we do, we'll be prepared. Luckily, I've gone against it before, but it's also exciting because it kind of keeps it fresh. Like, going against a spread every week, like, okay, it's kind of the same stuff, right? Spread is spread. Whereas, you go from a spread team to a wing T team. Well, those are, I mean, completely different worlds. And so now, like, some teaching comes into play. And like, that's like, I coach for kids and being an impact on them, but there's also like a fun thing of coaching, of, having to figure out and like having to really use your brain and teach these kids. And there's the major differences, and teaching them the game and the rules and all these different things. So, I look forward to it, and I might see a little more in 3A than the 5A, 6A stuff. But I think that's probably, for me, that's what I've noticed, the amount of change year to year for high schools versus, not real. We ran the same defense at SEMO the whole time I was there. We just kept recycling kids and getting new kids in that fit what we wanted to do. I mean, our mold for DB was, we're recruiting man corners because we played so much quarters. Our zone turned to man so fast. So, like, these two safeties were both corners in high school. And we said, hey, whoever our biggest, strongest corners are, we're going to move them to safety. But they got recruited as man cover guys just because of what we did. If they didn't run a certain speed, or if they didn't have man on their film, we didn't watch it. If a guy, like a coach would come in and say, hey, coach, I have a box safety for you. Great. He can maybe play outside backer to the field. He can't play DB for us. And so you had those conversations. But that's probably the biggest difference I've noticed, schematically, from college to high school.
So let me ask you this. Having just finished up, I know you guys went through spring ball and are probably in the midst of 7-on-7 and everything. As far as your installation process, how did that go? Kind of first time through installing it at the high school level? Did you pare back? What did you want to install? How much did you get in spring? All those type of questions.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. So we started installing, and then I kind of actually reeled back a little bit and reinstalled and changed, a few things that we were doing, and we've kind of added here and there since then. So we're finding out who we are, but the install process was pretty easy. Like I said, I started off installing this cover 4 kind of concept and some checks off of it, and then it was realizing that the stuff I wanted to do, like we did at SEMO, is that, well, maybe these kids, this isn't their strong suit. So well, now I need to change it, right? I need to go back and 2 by 2 I can do this, but maybe 3 by 1 I can't do that. So I need to change it to this. So we need to teach this kind of a concept. So we have different coverages in our package. We have our quarter stuff, we have our cover three stuff, we have our man stuff as well. But yeah, the install process it was good, and we kept it pushing, and we've still been we've added some new things even this sevens, the one to help us in sevens, but one that actually fit in really well with what we're doing schematically that we can bring in because. I mean, I'll tell you, Coach. Like, I loved playing sevens when I was a player. Like, I had fun doing it. I despise seven on as a coach. I, I mean, just I despise it. Like, I'm not going to be blunt about it. I think I understand it. I get it. It's fun, but there's a lot of things that I'm never going to install something and do something that is going to help us in sevens. So every 7-on-7 that we've done, our kids have been in stress because that's what they're going to be in come real when we actually play football, and so I want them to feel that stress. I don't want to say, hey, we're going against trips open here and we're going to bump all of our backers, so we're covering everyone, and we have no one in the box for tight end attached. Like, what are we doing? Like, I don't want to teach my kids something, then I have to reteach them something new just to play 7-on-7. So my main focus when we get to these things is that we're going to be who we are. It might not be the best for like the big tournaments like ASU and NAU and things like that. And that's okay. Like I'm prepping our kids to play football in the fall, not to do sevens. When we get to sevens, it's, hey, we're running our scheme. I care about you competing and I care about you doing your job to the best of your abilities. Let's try not to have major busts because that's what it's going to expose, right? Like that, it's hard to cover everything. 7-on-7 should put defenses in strains, and so yeah, so it's been good, and I think we've finally these last couple of weeks we've kind of found our footing. We were talking to our kids on Tuesday after we were at Ben Franklin, and we were at the small school Arizona Christian tournament. And we did okay. It was our kids' first time ever doing seven, so we did okay. We held our own a little bit, but the growth we've had from that week till now, so about 2 to 3 weeks, has been night and day. The team that we have now, like our kids are getting it. They're understanding the concepts, they're understanding their fits and what they need to do. They're a piece to the puzzle, and we've added a new coverage since then, and they've crushed it. And so it's going to form into who we are and what we're about, and what we're doing. And so that's the biggest thing, kind of moving forward, if that makes sense.
That makes a ton of sense, Coach. I know you got to run here pretty quick. Wanted to get one last question in. You kind of alluded to it a little bit talking about it here. I've gone back and forth with this with different defensive guys, and this is obviously probably different. I'm talking about primarily from the high school level here. I've heard guys that carry 6, 7, 8 coverages. I've heard guys that carry one and have won a state championship carrying one coverage the whole season. How many coverages do you think you need? And how many do you carry? And lastly, how many can you get good at the high school level? Because I have my opinions on this. I won't share them. But how many coverages legitimately can you play where you're really good at it with 14 to 18-year-old kids where there's a limited amount of time, things of that nature? We're not talking Texas, 4,000 kids in the school. How many coverages do you carry, fronts, those type of things?
Yeah. Well, kind of going back to the couple previous questions, that was probably the biggest thing that I've learned since coaching high school football is that the time I had in college to the time I have now it's not even close. So as far as carrying coverages, I'm a big believer. I think there's kind of two ends of the spectrum. I think you can have guys like I've coached against offensive coordinators. It's you walk into an offense or you watch an offense and they do spread, they do eye, they do all of these different things. And it's kind of like, okay, well, what's your identity? Like, who are you? Right. And so that's kind of what I look at. And so for me personally, I never want to be the coordinator that's like, I'm the master of all. I do everything. I'm the master of all, or I'm the doer of all, and I'm the master of none. I want something that our kids can really hang their hat on and like, hey, we get in a pickle, we get in a bad spot or whatever, we're in game on the line. Like I want our kids to know, hey, this is who we are. This is what we're going to do, and we're going to go make this play. So I want them to be confident within that. And there's great teachers out there that can run all these different coverages, but I mean, how much time are you really allocating to get that taught? And so for me personally, like right now we're carrying one, two, 3 to 4 coverages right now, and we have variations of them, but it's all within like that family, right? So I keep it all the same. So there, some responsibilities might be different for some guys based on the given call, but the overall structure is the same. And so I think that's the biggest thing. So for me, I've learned with the amount of time that I have and the amount of detail that like I really want to go into is I can probably get it done, but it's also how much can these kids really retain? You know, you go through meetings, you go through walkthroughs, you go through these things, but if you're trying to just unload on, hey, we're gonna run cover four, we're gonna run cover six, we're gonna cover one, we're gonna run two, we're gonna run Tampa two, we're gonna run all these things, we're gonna run cover three, we're gonna cloud it and roll it and buzz it and sky it, we're gonna do all these different things. It's like, okay, well that's great, but are your kids actually like confident that they know what they're doing? I think the better defenses that I've seen, like we did it at SEMO my first couple years coaching. So my first year on defense was 2015. I was a GA. Um, and those like first 2 years or that first year, it was like we were heavy cover three on certain formations. We were heavy cover four on some. And like the teaching was just so different what we were wanting to get done. And then one off season, we just said, hey, you know what? At the end of the day, what do we want to hang our hat on? Like what rabbit hole do we want to go down? And we said, let's go down this cover four one. Like this is who we want to be. We want tight coverage. We want tight windows. We want our DBs to cover all the verticals. We want our linebackers to drop underneath. And so we said, hey, we're going to be a cover four team. So when I show you, like when I showed that playbook page, that it's, I mean, every formation, everything that you can think of within that, we went down that rabbit hole of like, okay, this is how we have to defend it. This is what we have to call. This is what we have to do. And that way, ultimately, we became a master of cover four. So we ran it all the time, and then we would run cover three as a switch up because we try to hold we would stay in it too high like this picture, and we would rotate on the snap, or we'd get into a one high and play cover one or play three. So it was we lived in cover four, cover three, and cover one, and they all looked the same. And so that's kind of a thing that where I'm at is I would love to run a million coverages and be, have offenses and quarterbacks trying to figure it out. But at the end of the day, I can show it too high and I can run a multitude of coverage, a couple coverages there and I'll be okay. And so again, for us at
Absolutely.
ALA, we're gonna carry I think 3 coverages because um, we're super young and we're picking it up. You can see as summer's gone on and the teaching's gone on is that the light bulb is starting to go off, which is super exciting as a coach, right? Like I never understood that as a player, but as a coach, it's like you teach a kid something that he's never done, and all of a sudden he figures out like, oh, it's supposed to look like this. Oh, that's okay. This makes sense. Um, and so now it's like, well, let's just give them a little bit. Let's let them get really really good at this. That it kind of follows and marries into the majority of what we're doing, and then we can just be really really good at it. I'd rather have 11 guys know exactly what they're supposed to do on every single play versus maybe having a couple busts here and there. So I'm on the spectrum of less is more when it comes
Well,
to.
Coach, I could not be in more agreement with that. And I really, really appreciate you joining me. I know you got to get out of here pretty quick, but I'm looking forward to seeing big things from ALA Ironwood and you as you continue on this coaching journey. I know you will do a fantastic job, and we're really fortunate to have you here in Arizona. So thank you again, everybody, for joining us this week on the Blue and Gold Gridiron Show. Please make sure to like and subscribe. We're trying to reach as many coaches as we possibly can. We appreciate you as always, and have a good night. We'll see you next week.